I'm going to walk you through my entire training split day by day and explain why. All right, guys, I have gotten countless emails and text messages and DMs and comments on YouTube, and I greatly appreciate that. But everyone wants to know what my training split is and why I'm doing it and if it makes sense and if I could talk through it. So what I thought I'd do here today was lay out my 14-day training split, and then beside it, to kind of show you a contrast, I'm going to show you my client Dave, and we'll show his Instagram here at what he's doing, and then talk about the differences in the two, and then why I would choose one over the other. So let's go through mine first. So it's a 14-day rotation that essentially has me hitting back 3 times and then legs 3 times. So if you look through that, and I'm going to explain why I do what I do, on that first 7 days, the priority is back. Okay, so I hit back heavy on Monday. That's also with some abs. And then I follow that right up with a chest shoulder heavy day as well. So I'm doing lots and lots of heavy rowing, lots of heavy pressing on those 2 back-to-back days. So that's going to warrant a day off next. Plus, Wednesday tends to be one of my higher trafficked work days where I need to spend more time in front of the computer. So it's nice to have that off day after really pounding myself twice back-to-back on Monday and Tuesday. So from there, I'm going to come off of a rest day and hammer my quads and hamstrings and adductors. So that's a whole encompassing leg day. We'll link one of those examples above here. And then that leads right into a Friday back pump session. So with the pump session, where on Monday I do lots and lots of rowing, on the pump session I do way more vertical pulling and pull downs, pull ups, pull overs. I do 1 to 2 rowing for my upper back on that day, but it's primarily all fast pace. I'm moving at a quick spot, trying to get my lats as pumped as humanly as possible on that pump day, in and out in about 60 minutes, where those first 3 sessions on back, chest, shoulder, legs are going to be more like towards the 90-minute mark. All right, so then Saturday, day 6, is going to be arms and calves. I always train calves with my arms. They're a strong body part, so I just do them once a week. And that arm day is going to be fast-paced and pumped before I have an off day. So if you look at that first 7 days, I've done that years in the off season, but this time I wanted to rotate things a little bit differently in my off season, to where I'm going to start that 8th day, so that will be the next Monday, with hamstrings and glutes, because I don't feel like I've put enough emphasis on my glute training to really, when it comes time to the contest and really dig out all that detail, my glutes need more development. So I have a day where I specifically train hamstrings and glutes, and that's on a Monday. Then I follow that immediately up with chest shoulders. Now, if you look there, I flopped the order of the chest shoulders and the back rotation, because coming off the hamstrings and glutes, I don't want to continue to pound the back side of my body. I want to give it a break, so I flip to the front side. So that's going to be a chest and shoulder workout next to start on Tuesday before I'm hitting a back day. So if you look at that rotation, guys, I have back pump, I have arms, which both of those are going to be relatively less taxing on my central nervous system. An off day followed by a hard hamstring and glutes, and I'll get him to link above an example of what that looks like, into hard chest shoulder, into a, so I have 3 hard days there, bam, 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 before I have an off day. Then on that 11th day, I take off. On the 12th, I come back and do quads and adductors. So with that session, I do a little bit of hamstring to warm up, but it's primarily pounding my adductor inner thigh, and that's something I want to bring up this year, and I have it just with quads. So if you'll find, if you guys need to bring up legs, splitting a hamstring glute and then a quad and adductor is going to be, in my opinion, the most optimal way to set up your training split if you're really looking to bring up your lower body, which I am. And then I have that 13th day, which is arms. And then on day 14, which is a Sunday, I take off. And then that rotates right back around to I'd restart at day 1 with back heavy. So if you look at that through a 2-week scope in the macro, like zoomed out portion of that, I'm putting an emphasis on back and then my lower body. So I'm only going to be hitting chest and shoulders twice and only arms twice. But at the same time, what you'll find is I came off of a period of where I really prioritized the arms and was hitting that twice a week. So I wanted to de-emphasize this portion of my off season of hitting arms, because my elbows were starting to get beat up a little bit. So I wanted to pull back on the arm training and then double down on staying on top of my back, but then really look to enhance and bring up my glutes and my lower body through my quads and adductors as well. So That's what my split looks like. As far as, people ask me what my food looks like on my off days, I always pull back the carbohydrates. I cut those roughly in half, which really comes out to be about 250 grams of carbohydrates. I increase my fat intake on those days to upwards of 100 grams, and then my protein on both days stay pretty constant at about 400 grams protein per day. Then on my training days, I view those all the same right now at this phase of my off season. So my carbs are right at 500, my fat's on the lower end at 55, and then like I said, my protein's at 400 on all days. So I don't really do anything special right now through this phase of my off season. Once I start ramping up and having high days again, that's where I'll look to keep a majority of my carbohydrates extremely high, like upwards of 800 to 1,000, and I'll do those on my back days and my leg days. Is how I'll structure that. So let's move on to split number 2 here, and that is Little Dave. He is, again, one of my long-term really great clients who's put on a ton of tissue, who just came off of competing at USA's, and we assessed all of his stage shots, all of his check-in photos, and what we found is, unlike me, who has weaknesses, he really has no weakness. He's very balanced at this point of his bodybuilding career, but what we need now is everything to grow. So, he weighed in at like 197 at USA's. We want to see him weigh in the next time he steps on stage at a drop under 215 and just as lean, if not leaner. So what we have him on here is essentially a 6-day split. It's 2 on, 1 off, and we just rotate that process. So if you look through his rotations here, every 4 workouts, his workouts switch. So I have him A workouts and B workouts. So if you look through this rotation, day 1 is going to be back and abs, then he has chest and shoulders, and then an off day. From there, he trains legs, arms, and off. And then we're right back through that rotation, but with completely new exercises. If you're one of those people who, like, say, for example, likes to train back every Monday and chest and shoulder every Tuesday, both of these splits are not going to be suitable for you because you're just too OCD and it's not going to work. But with both of these splits, they're meant to be extremely personalized, meaning for me and for him. So you asked for me to talk through my split, and I thought I'd share an alternative view so you can get the look here. So with him, again, he has no real weaknesses, so we're just going to rotate through. Every 6 days, he's back on a body part. That right now already has him with striated glutes at 215 pounds at morning check-in. So by the end of the day, he's up to 222 pounds, just as hard and full as a house, strong as he's ever been just over 4 weeks post-show. So, it just goes to show that in my mind, training splits have to be personalized with how you look, how you operate mentally, and then what's going to be best suited for your schedule. So like for me, for example, I could train 7 days a week, 3 days a week, doesn't matter. Like my schedule, I'm going to be able to find a place to train. For someone who may have a much stricter schedule, or as a police officer, a teacher, has a lot of responsibility outside of the gym, they may not be able to. So again, when you guys are constructing your own training splits at home, be really intelligent by building that around your workday. And I'll give you an example of that. So when I used to train people in person, my lightest day in the gym was going to be Saturday and Sunday. So I've scheduled 2 of my hardest days, which kind of not intelligently was back on Sunday, and I trained legs on Saturday. But those were my 2 lightest days of work, so I knew that I could give the most effort on those days. So what you guys have to think about is when you're setting that up, if you have to really bring up your back, but you're going to have to train after a 12-hour shift, it's not going to be very beneficial. It's going to be much more challenging to do it that way. So if you have some flexibility within your schedule, custom tailor it to what you need to bring up. What are strong points? What are weak points? So if you look at mine, for example, right? I have chest and shoulders only on there twice, and that's because my shoulders are extremely dominant. If I'm looking at my total volume through the course of the week, I'm only going to do roughly 6 to 8 sets most for my shoulders all week long. And that's all they need because I'm putting most of my effort and energy in the first week to back and my second week to legs. So again, you have to think about volume allotment. You can't just bust ass and say, I'm going to grow absolutely everything every second and just redline every muscle group. Or if so, that's why we have to do like a split like Lil Dave does here. 2 days on, 1 day off. This gives us rest. Now, I will say this, for both him and I, what I have built in here, because both of us are very intuitive with our bodies and have been doing bodybuilding for so long, if, let's say for example, on day 10, I have back, and then day 11, I have an off day. Well, if by day 12, I'm not ready to hit quads and adductors fully, I'll just take an extra off day. For him, if after that hard back and abs and then chest and shoulders, if we need an off day like we have scheduled here, if we need another off day before hitting legs, we just simply take it, guys. Like, you can't be so married to a split, but it's like, oh God, it's Thursday, I have to do legs. It's Monday, I have to train back. No, you don't have to do shit. You may need rest, and that may be what your body needs to grow. So especially if we're in the off season, I really want you guys to pay very close attention to your body. Listen to the feedback it's giving. Don't just think, oh, I'm being a little bitch today, I need to go train. Because sometimes that is the case. But for the most part in the off season, if you've done this long enough, you know when you need a break. You can feel it. You aren't craving those weights. You aren't ready to go in there and rip the gym apart. And to me, I'm not willing to do a session if that's not how my mindset is. Now, on the flip side, I will give you the other thing. We all can probably watch some motivational videos, hit some caffeine, and be ready to go. But if you just keep digging that hole down, 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 and never able to climb out of it, are you really making progress? Are you really growing and packing on muscle tissue optimally? And the answer I'll say now at 37 is no. When I was 27, you asked me that, I'd say, get your fucking ass in the gym and quit being a pussy. But what I've found through working with thousands of people at this point is a lot of times an extra day off is what is needed. Usually, you get way more out of less than more out of more. So something for you guys to consider there. So look through both these training splits, pound me with questions. You're happy to always send me your photos and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, what would you suggest? As I would love to answer those questions, because I love to nerd out on training splits. I love to really look and assess physiques and say, hey, this is what I think we should do training split wise and attacking the muscle in terms of frequency as well as volume. So if you like this video, guys, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, Cris TV.